So the next chapter is called The Things with Wings. Squared. Alright. There's a quote down here. It's a footnote. Okay, so The Things with Wings, and then it's got a footnote. It said, Hope is the thing with feathers by Emily Dickinson. So this entry, I believe this is 12 pages long, so y'all get ready. Short read, but should be a good one. Jin's entry on the 2nd of May, year 22. Now, from the last entry, that is 2nd of May, so I feel like a week, maybe, give or take. Alright. 2nd of May, year 22, Jin's entry says, I was so nervous that my fingers stiffened. I clenched and unclenched my fist. What if I fail? Now, you remember who clenched and unclenched their fists last time? It's June. I'd done this repeatedly, but I felt terrified each time. I took a slow, deep breath and thought about Yoongi. He must be drunk by now, clicking his lighter with one hand and holding his phone with the other. He might be lying on the couch, contemplating the reasons why he should go on living, or the reasons not to. Now, where did that come from? Why did he just suddenly think that? How does Yoongi see the world and himself? I faced this question every time I tried to save him. I couldn't understand how he could keep trying to destroy himself. It didn't mean I was overjoyed living in this world, or that each and every day of my life I was filled with happiness. In fact, I was never captivated by anything, not even by life and death. It's weird that he says every time he's tried to save him, because this is the first time that we've heard about it. Looking back, I was no different when I first started all this. Would I be able to straighten out the errors and mistakes and save all of us? I didn't grasp the depth and weight of this question. It was true that I desperately wanted to save all of us. No one deserves to die, to despair, or be suppressed, or be despised. What's going on? On top of that, they were my friends. We might have had our flaws and scars and have been twisted up and distorted. We might have been nobodies, but we were alive. We had days to live, plans to follow, and dreams to fulfill. At first I didn't think much of it. I thought it'd all depend on how much effort I put in after I figured out who I needed to save and from what. What is going on here? That was what I had thought. I believed I could solve it all by persuading them and changing things. It was that simple and naive, but it was no more than an attempt to save my own skin. After a series of trials and errors, I had a realization. It wasn't so simple to save the others. What the hell is going on? Yoongi wasn't easy to handle. He was probably the most difficult of all. He was always changing the time and place of his attempts at suicide. I had to approach him differently than the others. A solution that worked fine the last time didn't work the next time. Just when I thought I'd finally unraveled one mystery, it led to another hitch. It's getting interesting, and I'm starting to develop different aspects of thought, but at the same time, we'll talk about it. Let's just keep reading. At first, I couldn't put my finger on his reasons. After everything, all I could guess was that Yoongi's distress was connected to his inner conflict. Namjoon got caught in a fight because of these rude customers at the gas station, but Yoongi was different. He had no definite target and no definite cause. He had too many variables. I tried to imagine what was going on in Yoongi's head. Once I followed him secretly for hours, his footsteps were insecure and unpredictable. He staggered through the night streets and tried to fling himself into the fire. He sometimes squatted on the ground and listened to music that flowed out of somewhere inside an underground shopping arcade. After a night of following him, I realized how dry, dull, and flat my own life was. It wasn't that I envied Yoongi. The suffering he must have endured, going from one extreme to the other, were beyond my imagination. All I could do was watch him stagger on. One setback was always followed by another. A new layer of despair came down even before the previous one was stripped. I might not be able to save Yoongi after all. I couldn't find a breakthrough, but at that moment, hope flew in. I once heard that hope had wings. It was a little bird with wings. A bird flew into Yoongi's workroom, which was in an abandoned building in the middle of a redevelopment neighborhood. It had been decided to demolish this neighborhood a long time ago, but it was left deserted when the redevelopment plans stalled. The bird flew in through a broken window. Yoongi was standing in the middle of the workroom with a lighter in his hand. The entire workroom smelled strongly of gasoline. It was standing right outside the door. I was about to jump in when I heard a big thud and the flapping of wings. The door was half open, so I peeked through. Yoongi had his back to me. The bird collapsed on the floor. It fluttered its wings again, but failed to rise into the air. Yoongi stood completely still and looked down at the bird. I still couldn't see his face. The bird flopped around the workroom in search of a way out. It bumped its wings on the wall and the chair, and the feathers that fell out drifted around the floor. On the floor. Yoongi was just gazing at it. His hand holding the lighter still hung in the air. He finally dropped his arm, sank down, and covered his head with both hands. I went into his workroom that night. It was spacious but desolate. A dirty sofa, chair, and piano were all I could find there. Crumpled pieces of paper were scattered all over the floor. He must have tried to start a fire. Some of them looked like lines of music with sentences of lyrics scribbled on them. I looked around. I found things with wings. The bird was crouching behind the piano, with dried blood around the wounds on its wings. It seemed petrified and cowered in fear when I came near. Tiny drops of blood were smeared on the floor. Breadcrumbs and water were set out in front of the piano. I took a step back. Even if I let it out the window, it wouldn't be able to fly yet. How long would it take for the wounds to heal? Would Yoongi remain safe and sound while the bird was staying there? Then a thought came to my mind. Yoongi must have stopped himself because of this. This wounded little bird, a fragile little thing, couldn't protect or save itself. A tiny being that entrusted its life to Yoongi. After that day I had a realization. If all the variables related to Yoongi's suicidal attempts existed within Yoongi, why not drag at least one of them out? I'd have to seek the right target and create the right situation. A variable that could give Yoongi a reason to stop destroying himself. Someone who could share his scars and desires. But someone wasn't me. It's not something you can do alone. I became painfully aware of the full meaning of these words I'd heard not long after all this started. It's not something you can do alone. I realized that Jungkook had the same look in his eyes as Yoongi when Namjoon said it. Jungkook still has that photo. He meant the photo we took together on the beach in high school. Namjoon seemingly wanted to let me know that Jungkook was still thinking of me, but I was reminded of a completely different scene. On the day we went looking for that rock that made dreams come true, we laughed, complained, and played under the scorching sun. And devastated at finding that the rock had vanished, I cried out my dream, which even I couldn't hear, to the sea. At that moment, I saw Jungkook yelling some question at Yoongi. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could sense that it was important to Jungkook. What did he ask Yoongi? Why him? I hadn't given it a second thought. Back then, Yoongi was not as lively as HYYH. Not as friendly as Jimin, and not as reliable as Namjoon. Why was it Yoongi? I suddenly realized. It was Yoongi who saved Jungkook. The two had the same look in their eyes. It wasn't difficult to send Jungkook to Yoongi. Jungkook was alone at school and at home. He had nowhere to go after school. He usually spent his time at HYYH's burger joint and wandered around Namjoon's container. I locked the door of the container and made HYYH leave the store before Jungkook dropped by. After roaming around for quite a while, Jungkook finally headed for Yoongi's workroom. He seemed to have mixed feelings. Should I go in? What if he thinks I'm annoying? Expectation and fear both swirled across Jungkook's face. Since that day, he visited Yoongi's workroom every day. At first, Yoongi flatly told him to go away, but he didn't really mean it. A shadow appeared shortly. It was Jungkook. I burrowed myself deeper into the seat. They didn't know I was back yet. except Namjoon, who I met at the gas station. Namjoon said everybody would be thrilled, but I refused to meet them. I was waiting for the right moment, had to wait until all of us were together. Maybe we were tied up together with strings and supporting one another. It wasn't easy to trace the web of strings. It was like an intricate maze. When some strings and knots were figured out, other parts snapped. When one string was pulled too tightly, everything collapsed in an instant. I had to connect the dots, one string with another, closely observing the others. Get them to save one another without realizing it. Jungkook stopped in front of Yoongi's workroom and looked up at the second floor. He didn't look too cheerful. Yoongi had gone through a difficult time over the past 10 days. He had been drinking heavily and tormenting himself, pushed Jungkook into this depth of agony. Yoongi's suffering must have been too overwhelming for Jungkook. Once Jungkook gave up on Yoongi, back then, Yoongi threw himself into the flames. Cruelly, Yoongi didn't die. Jungkook never forgave himself for failing to stop him. About 10 minutes had passed since Jungkook went into Yoongi's workroom. The sound of something shattering came out of the second floor window, and Yoongi with busted lips appeared at the entrance of the building, staggering. He hurried down the sloping road. I looked up at the window on the second floor. Jungkook must be sitting up there by the shattered mirror. He must be thinking he couldn't save Yoongi. He must be thinking it was hopeless. I started the car after seeing Jungkook run out of the building. Yoongi must be heading to the motel down the block. I should leave a clue for Jungkook to Yoongi's whereabouts. That was all I could do. I dropped some blood-stained tissue near the gate of the motel. I'm developing a hard theory right now. We're not going to talk about it though. Sitting in the car, I saw Jungkook climbing the stairs of the motel. I left a photo in front of the mirror in Yoongi's workroom early this morning. It was the photo of all of us taken that day we went to the beach. Did Jungkook see the photo? I couldn't know if Jungkook followed Yoongi because of that photo. If Jungkook decided to give it a try, seeing a small seed of hope. If Jungkook was motivated by something else. I wasn't sure Jungkook could save Yoongi. That decisive moment in life, that last moment for each of us, including Jungkook and Yoongi, can't be interfered with. Can only be shared by those who suffer the same wound, understand each other's fears, dreams, and defeats, therefore see through each other to the core. I looked up at the motel window. I wondered what Jungkook and Yoongi were talking about in there, and I desperately wished that the thing with wings would be able to take off into the sky from there. What a cryptic entry, dude. What the Okay. Or keep reading. I'll talk about it after the chapter's over. What a cryptic entry. Okay. Oh, my mind's spinning. Yoongi on the 2nd of May, year 22. The sheet caught fire and instantly flared up. Everything dingy and shabby died away in the unbearable heat. The musty smell, the depressing dampness, and the dark, dismal light were no longer recognizable. Only pain was left. Physical pain that seemed to boil in the flames. My fingertips felt as if they were melting down, with blisters forming. Dad's expressionless face and the sound of music dispersed into the air. I was different than him. Dad didn't understand me and I didn't understand him. If I tried, would I have been able to persuade him? I don't think so. All I could do was hide, defy, and run away. Sometimes I felt like it wasn't him I was trying to break free from. At such moments, fear rushed over me. What am I running away from then? What does it take to escape from myself? Everything looked hopeless. I thought I heard someone calling me, but I didn't turn my head. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, but I knew it was Jungkook. He must have gotten mad. He would mourn for me. I just wanted to flop down. I just wanted to put an end to the smoke, heat, pain, and fear. Jungkook shouted something, but I still couldn't hear. Everything before my eyes fell apart. It was the last moment. I lifted my head. My last sight of this world was this dirty, isolated room, the red-hot flames and rolling heat, and Jungkook's face twisted. What? Oh no! Oh, it's such a hard-boiled theory right now. Okay. Jungkook, 2nd of May, year 22, same day. I look up and found myself in front of the container. I opened the door and went inside. I lay down, curled up, and covered myself with all the clothes I could find. I felt cold and my body trembled. It was hard to pull myself together and lie still. I felt like crying, but tears wouldn't come. The scene of Yoongi standing amidst the flames kept replaying in my mind. Flames blazed up from the sheet. I couldn't think. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't a good talker. I couldn't even express my own feelings, let alone persuade someone else. Tears welled up and a cough lodged in my throat. It became even harder to speak. The only words I could utter as I jumped into the flames were, I thought we were all going to the sea together. What's wrong? Are you having a nightmare? Someone shook my shoulder. I opened my eyes to find Namjoon. A sense of relief overcame me. Namjoon put his hand on my forehead and told me I had a fever. It was true. The inside of my mouth felt like it was burning up, but it was freezing cold at the same time. My head ached and my throat was sore. I could barely swallow the pills Namjoon brought me. Go back to sleep and we'll talk later. I nodded and then asked him, will I be able to grow into an adult like you? Oh, so cryptic, bro. Oh, okay, so I want to talk about it. I don't know how to talk about it. Because this is one of my theories that I've been stating this whole time, is that I feel like there's a lot going on in the videos, and the notes are supposed to go along with the videos, right? So I'm not going to spoil it with my theory just yet, because we might have someone reading this who's never read it before or doesn't know anything about it. But we're going to come back to this part for sure, because this is by far the most epic chapter so far, and contains a lot of information that is actually very, very I don't even know the words, man. I'm just in shock right now what I'm thinking. I'm not gonna sit here and build it up. We'll come back, we'll talk about it in a summary vid. Mark the chapter we just read, The Things with Wings. It's an important one, okay? We're gonna keep moving forward. The Things with Wings. Bro. Bro. Alright. What's up, guys? So that's gonna be the end of my recording for today. If you're on Patreon, never fear. You guys enjoy the videos. If you're watching and you made it thus far, I've been up for 30 hours and I need to shower and shave and get some rest. So I will return to continue work on it tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, you're gonna get this regular schedule every other day, so never fear, I'm probably already done by the time you guys see this. But if you're on Patreon, hope you've enjoyed everything, and I need to get some rest, so I will see you guys later.